I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer me honestly. What is your purpose in life? What are your goals? Why do you wake up in the morning every day? I know it's a handful to answer, but we often ask ourselves these questions every day. Why do we live every day? To be honest, I can't answer that because everyone has their own reasons. The same goes for a purpose. Everyone has their own self-interest slash purpose. Well, what about superhero films? Do we learn about the hero's purpose? Yeah, we do. It often comes after they've learned a lot through conflicts and relationships. But what about the villain? Do we often learn about a villain's purpose in life? Or should I rather ask, do we often care for that purpose? When it comes to someone like Loki, why do we care for him? He's always had a big fan base and has been regarded as the best MCU villain. Well, up until Thanos showed up. But the more I think about it, the more I wonder why Loki as a character was so loved by many when we haven't really spent a great deal of time with him as an individual. And yes, Thor the Dark World and Ragnarok had great moments for Loki, but was that enough? Enough for people to love him so much? I think the reason why Disney Plus's Loki is great is because it is able to put so much significance on Loki's purpose. And because of that, we learn so much about Loki as a person. Why does he kill? Does he like to kill? And what does he want going forward? Okay, so before this video continues, I would like to point out that when I started making the script, I assumed that Loki would be a miniseries, that it would be a one and done and maybe have some type of connection to other MCU films, which is still the case. However, recently I learned that Loki was officially going to be renewed for a second season. So this video was originally meant to basically cover everything on Loki since I thought we weren't going to see the show again, but it looks like we'll be seeing more of this wonderful series put up by Disney Plus and Marvel. Okay, enough dwelling on season 2, let's talk about season 1. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Loki is the best show that Disney Plus and Marvel have put out. I think its message, tone, and dialogue is by far the best among the Marvel Disney Plus series. I think WandaVision's message about depression and grief was great, but I think for most of the show it focuses a lot of its time towards Easter eggs and building up towards other movies that at times we don't fully appreciate and understand about the main themes. In Loki, it feels different. Yes, although they do spend time building towards other movies, unlike WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier where there is either a lot of exposition or fight scenes, Loki has multiple scenes of dialogues between characters. I especially love episode 1 because this is where we really learn about Loki's character, and this is where many people will really start to feel connected towards Loki. I think the casting of Owen Wilson as Mobius was fantastic because Wilson is able to add that dynamic towards Loki, someone to really challenge him, and not physically like fighting, but challenging his ideology, his thoughts. And I love that because it helps show a different side of the God of Mischief. He's confused and alone, and he thinks he knows his purpose in life, but he doesn't. Episode 2 also does a really good job with Loki because we're able to see him in a different light, one that serves a bigger purpose and meaning in life, but that isn't his full purpose either. I'll get back to Loki's purpose later since it's tied towards another character. I want to keep talking about Mobius because I think he is by far my favorite character on the show. Mobius's purpose in life is to serve the TVA since he believes in its cause. He believes that he's with the good guys. But when he learns the whole truth about the TVA from Loki, his motives changes. And although he still wants to serve the greater good, his purpose and goal in life changes. He wants to go back to where he belongs. He wants to go home, which is very heartwarming because imagine the amount of people in the world who can't go home because they're stuck somewhere or they financially can't get home. To be in the place where you belong, to be at home, is all one could ever really ask for. I also want to mention the fact that unlike the other side characters in the other Disney Plus Marvel series, he doesn't feel like a side character you can just toss aside. He's someone you grow to love because of the future conflicts he has to face and his close relationship with Loki. I hope the next Disney Plus Marvel series will continue doing this with side characters because although I do love the main characters they have set, I get even more connected to the show when new characters are introduced and written with care. Now, I want to move on to the topic of Sylvie. I have to admit, I didn't know what to think of a female Loki since I wasn't too familiar with the idea of the character. But I have to say that I really enjoyed her character. I think, like Mobius, she added a dynamic that was necessary to Loki, a challenge. Her purpose in life was revenge, is revenge. She wanted to kill the person who was controlling the TVA because they took her life away from her. I think it's great that even though Loki tries to get her to think things through with Kang and not to kill him, and it seems like it's just going to be some very cliche scene, it turns out not to be, and she chooses revenge over Loki. I do love this little moment when she cries. She's not crying because she just took a life, she's crying because she feels empty. She's fulfilled her goal of revenge, but now what? Branches are increasing throughout the timeline. She pushed Loki away and now she's alone. I love this type of character story because she did fulfill her revenge, she did achieve her goal, but her main purpose in life was revenge, and once she completes it, she doesn't know what to do next. Thank God there's a season 2 because I'm so excited to see what direction Sylvie could go next. Like I mentioned before, Loki is a better written character than he has been throughout his time in the MCU. When Loki was first announced, many people questioned the decision because we already saw him die. Why do we need a show about him? And if I'm going to be completely frank, I agreed with that statement at the time. I felt everything we needed to learn about Loki was done after Infinity War. But now that Loki Season 1 is finished, I couldn't have been more wrong. Loki shows us a different side to the character that we've never seen before. Loki was always known as selfish, manipulative, and a cold person. I think the best part about Loki is that it makes us truly care for the character in a way we never have before. He becomes this selfless person who puts others before himself, fights for the greater good, and finds love within himself. Literally, I mean, Sylvie is just him from an alternate universe. I found it kind of weird at first, but I'm glad that they didn't date in season finale because now in season 2, it can help further their relationship. And I think doing all of those things cements Loki's purpose, a true purpose in life. He's had a purpose before in terms of conquering the world or Asgard, but they were selfish, not selfless. And I think through these 6 episodes and roughly 4 hours of spending time with Loki, we truly learn to love the god of mischief and his purpose in life. I think one of the reasons why Loki has been able to succeed so far is because it doesn't feel like a Marvel project, if that makes sense. WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier had this issue, especially when it came to the series finale. It felt like those shows ended up playing it safe because they didn't want to risk doing anything outside of the box. With Loki, it's different. Because the show has been renewed for a second season, they can really pull off an ending on season 1 that doesn't feel Marvel-esque. It really feels like Infinity War's ending where it wasn't the ending we were expecting. We were expecting the good guys to trump, for everything to be okay and for everyone to be happy. But the good guys didn't win. No one was happy. It was essentially a feeling of loss. I know it's unfair to make this comment for Loki since WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier only had 1 season. However, those shows were still meant to lead towards other movies. Therefore, I felt they could have gone for a more risque ending like Loki's. Another thing I really enjoyed about the show is that majority is based around talking. Although there are action scenes and stunning visual effects, a lot of the show is based around dialogue, characters interacting with each other. I loved it when we had these scenes because we had more insight with characters like Loki, like Sylvie, Mobius, Classic Loki, and Kang's variant. It's another great step away from the familiar Marvel formula that we've seen for the better part of a decade. Because of the dialogue, we're able to learn about characters' true intentions. Loki's greater purpose, Sylvie's thirst for revenge, Mobius wanting to be free, and Kang trying to maintain peace and order so that his other variants can't wage war. The best part about a story in general isn't the fighting or the actions. It's the conversations characters have with one another to learn who they are, so we can learn who they really are, to connect with them, to feel them, and to learn their purpose. Loki is a show about finding a greater purpose, and I know I've mentioned the word purpose a lot today in this video, but that's the whole point. Every day I wake up thinking about my own purpose. What do I hope to achieve? What are my goals? Will I accomplish them? These aren't simple questions you can answer in the snap of a finger, but they're questions you must think about over time and keep asking yourself. I'm glad there's a season 2 of Loki because now that the story is expanded and possibly could go on until season 3, it makes the journey of finding a greater purpose that much more impactful. Honestly, when writing this script, I tried to think of some deep saying to close this video off, but all I'm going to say is that Loki is a show worth watching for those with doubt, for those who can't find their meaning in life, their purpose, to let them know that they are not alone.